Swala mawili, swala la kwanza kwa lugha ya Kiswahili na swala la pili kwa lugha ya Kiingereza. Swala langu la kwanza, Mheshimiwa Wahome, ambaye umekuwa waziri katika hii wizara kwa muda mfupi, ningependa kujua mikakati ambayo utaweka katika wizara yako na kupitia serikali kuu ya Kenya Kwanza ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba Wakenya wengi ambao wamejenga kwa miaka nenda miaka rudi katika zile ardhi ambazo zilikuwa zinaitwa GL ama government land, na zile ardhi ambazo kuna absentee landlord, yani wale wamiliki hawajulikani na hawako, na pia wale ambao wamejenga katika ardhi za wale wamiliki ambao walipatiwa ile tunaita grants ama zabuni, rubuni, na watu kama hao hawajafika katika sehemu hizo na wala hawajulikani, kwa sababu kihistoria wakati wa nyuma kulikuwa na siasa zile ambazo mtawala akiingia anaweza kupatia marafiki grant ya mashamba katika sehemu tofauti tofauti, na jambo hili limefanyika sana katika sehemu ya Bonde la Ufa na sehemu ya Pwani. So ni mikakati gani ambayo serikali kupitia wizara yako itafanya ndio tatizo hili la mashamba liwe historia, isiwe kila wakati wa siasa, wakati wa kampeni Wakenya bado wanauliza maswali yale kwa yale? Na niweze pia kuweza kukubaliana na Mheshimiwa Owen wakati aliposema ya kwamba kuna tashwishi ya kwamba huenda pengine wewe, na hiyo ni hisia yangu, ukirudi katika wizara hino utaweza kuendelea kuhujumu tume ya ardhi, kwa sababu wakati mmoja ulikataa kuongeza muda wa kushughulikia mambo ya historia za mashamba, na tatizo hili ni tatizo nyeti katika Bonde la Ufa, katika Pwani na Kenya kwa jumla. Kwa hivyo hivi sasa umesema ya kwamba mambo yatakuwa tofauti, tunataka tuone ya kuwa tofauti, kwa sababu tatizo hili bado liko, hatujaona ya kwamba kama tumefaidika katika mambo ya dhulma za kihistoria za mashamba. Swali langu la Kiingereza, what specific timeline?
The Kiswahili version was just a speech. Now ask the question.
Mwenyekiti, hilo ni swali na nafikiri Mheshimiwa Wahome ameelewa hilo swali nilivyoliuliza. My second question, Honorable Chairman, what specific timeline did you establish when you are the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Land for the completion of digitization of land records across all the counties? How many counties right now they have those digitized land records? What is your roadmap? Many times we have been putting some allocation in terms of this program of digitization of land records. So what are you telling? What is the status right now? We want to hear, because we know this is the only way where we can avoid some cartels, we can avoid some corruption and so many other anomalies. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Thank you. Sharia, we can take Sharia as well.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think you're teaching us something new of saying no chairs. And Mheshimiwa Wahome, significant parts of the country are formerly trust lands and fall under the Community Lands Act. It's public knowledge that the community land legal regime remains not fully operationalized, and if granted, has not been regime not fully operationalized. If confirmed, what possible solutions do you propose? I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Can you answer those, Alice?
Chair, from Honorable Shurie, trust lands, it is true, this most of this is what we call as community land. We have the Community Land Act 2016, and the Community Land Act is operational. We are registering community lands everywhere in the country, but it is a slow process because the communities, the members of those communities must sit and agree, prepare inventory, and it's not an easy process, because also we have seen that leadership sometimes within the communities is infiltrated by politics, but the preparation of the inventories is quite a tedious task, because every member is supposed to sign, agree and sign, and then have that inventory forwarded by the office of the governor under the law, so that then you can start the process of registering. But we are on course in terms of various counties, and I believe we need the support, in fact, of elected leadership to expedite those processes as a government. Then Mheshimiwa Mishi is asking, I believe what she's asking me is a policy issue, and in terms of absentee landlord and people who have moved and become squatters on people's lands. We are in the process, Mr. Speaker, of finalizing the national land policy. It is a matter that should squarely be captured there, so that as a country we agree what to do. But also, we must not encourage, there is a lot of criminality in some of the people in terms of moving to people's land and becoming professional squatters. Those must be discouraged, but there are also genuine squatters that the country and the government need to work with and work on, that require sometimes the government to raise budget to purchase those parcels where the squatters are, and then do a land settlement in terms of the squatters. So the program in terms of land settlement is ongoing, is a program of the government. We need more funding for that. The government needs more funding to deal with that, Honorable Mishi. But I agree with you, there is a lot of this problem in terms of absentee landlord. Let's have policy, and the policy will be brought to Parliament, and input of Parliament would be very critical in terms of handling those. Then I think extension. Honorable Bayer, you accuse me of maybe being the person rejecting. I hope, Honorable Member, you haven't been given the wrong card in respect of my activities in terms. This particular, the Commission has not come to me officially or formally to say they want to extend. And in any case, the term of the Commission in terms of historical land injustices was limited by the statute, not by the minister. Opening that would require an amendment, but also we must, and I, as a minister who has served, we must caution the country that we cannot have historical injustices for land perpetually. We need to be very careful, and also if we open, we must limit that to a certain period, because we are talking about historical, not current. Any other current injustices can be done within our courts of law. We talk about historical, and that's why there was a time limit. Sorry, Honorable Speaker, I think there was a question on the digitization. No, not yet. There was a question on digitization, where we are. I had said earlier, we've done Nairobi, Mombasa, we are ongoing. Isiolo is more or less complete. In another 1 month, we'll finish with Isiolo. Murang'a is basically on board. Then we've gone to Machakos. We have 27 counties that we are working with currently. And I wouldn't be able to say specifically. I had estimated that to do the entire work, we may require another 5 years if funding is properly availed, and I have had talked about between 35 billion to 40 billion Kenya shillings to do the entire exercise.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Alice, land is a factor of production, and where I come from, land actually is a major source of conflict. And the many questions honorable colleagues have raised, it is indicative of that, whether you are in urban or rural areas. The first question which I want to pose to you is this thing called Ardhi Sasa. The major problem, and that is why Kenyans are angry, is because a simple transfer of land or property from one individual to other take maybe 1 year or 2 years. If really we have a platform, if really it is digitized, why would it take inordinately such a long time if what you are explaining to the committee is seamless? Secondly, I think the issue of corruption in land, it is not just simply said. I think it's profound. Examples are everywhere. In the county of Marsabit, we largely live on community land or trust land. But what is surprising, there are individuals who hold titles in areas that have not been adjudicated. And when they go to the ground, they are told, show us the extent of this land, and they cannot. So what is simply happening is those individuals who are involved in titling are the ones who actually are illegally issuing illegal title deeds. Going forward, if the House is going to approve your nomination, what is it that you are going to do differently? Because, Honorable Speaker, I have to make this point. From what Honorable Alice has given the committee this afternoon, I think that committee may be running into headwinds with you, simply because you need to carry leaders along. Because land is not just anything. Land is about community, it is about people, it is about settlement. So people must really be carried along. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the nominee. She has a broad ministry moving from land, public works, housing, and urban development. And as a nominee, you must have a vision. And I want to ask the first question is that, what is your vision to sustain urban development in the 47 counties? And how do you plan to address the challenge of rapid urbanization in terms of planning, in terms of giving blueprints of how the water supply will be done, roads construction will be done, the issue of electrifying those urban areas, and the issue which is very fundamental of sewerage in most of upcoming towns within Kenya. Secondly, the State Department of Planning Public Works launched the National Building Code 2024 on 17th of July 2024. The code is expected to update the standards and the requirement in the construction industry and aims to resolve the various issues affecting the Kenya building economy environment. If approved, how would you support the execution of this code? Various associations, including the Association of Construction Managers of Kenya and Interior Designers Association of Kenya, have raised concern concern on being unrecognized by the code. What is your opinion and what is the remedy of this? In prayer on my first question, when you get to that ministry, are you able to give...
When or if?
If you get to that ministry, are you, and do you have the capacity to give a vision of how do we want our towns and our urban areas be planned so that we can have proper coordinated construction, which includes the housing program. You are also in charge. The last one, the assistant chiefs.
Mule, one question at a time.
Okay, can I finish with this? Can I finish with this?
You've hit
With
two already.
This is the last one. As the Minister for Housing, and you are in charge of this ministry, and to implement the housing program, what do you visualize on how the common man at the village, the assistant chief, the chief who is paying the housing levy to benefit from the housing program in this country?
That question has been asked 4 times. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think it is important to Mule.
Maybe I can start with it and say that I had said that I see this program of affordable housing is a new one. Stages,
and is spreading.
And I see it going forward. I see it going to the rural areas as well. But for now, we are within urban centers. For obvious reasons, infrastructure, facilities.
The next question.
Yeah. Mukami had asked me about pending bills, Honorable Speaker. The pending bills, we have about 18 billion legacy or pending bills. Some of them from cases that are filed against the ministry. And these are being considered as part of the national pending bills from other ministries where a decision must be made so that we agree as a country how we deal with all the pending bills, including verification processes. That is a process being undertaken with the leadership of the National Treasury and the Executive. So we will have decisions made together. Compensation, I don't understand which compensation, because compensation in terms of compulsory acquisition is done by the National Land Commission, and basically that is not within my mandate. Any other compensation, maybe by judgments, those are pending cases or pending bills. I believe I could start with the question of Adisasa had been answered, but I am saying that this really, I'm thinking that we should get accommodation, because it's now real time possible to access your records and get information regarding your land records, especially when somebody else other than you want to access your records. You are the one to approve. I think the challenge for me is how to move faster to the other, maybe not now for me, for the ministry, for me if I'm approved, but for the ministry, the challenge is how to expedite. And I had said that with the necessary funding, it is possible to expedite. There is an issue you raised regarding titles in Marsabit or even elsewhere. Let me also warn the members, just alert the members and the public that it is not all titles that are out there that are actually valid titles or are titles. They could just be papers with no worth of a title deed. There are many, some are just made at Liver Road, like some of the cases the Honorable Majority Leader was raising, are title papers. When you look at them, they look like they are genuine, but they are made from River Road and they cannot transfer proprietary rights to any property. So I don't know what you are referring to in Marsabit. I think it would be important for me to have the records so that I'll be able to know what you are dealing with or referring to, or the ministry to be able to be brought to their attention so that they can maybe stop whatever could be happening. And I agree it is profound, and the land issue is obviously very emotive. So therefore, community land, be part of the community land processes so that you can help to expedite the community to have their land put in a title because it's private land. Community land is considered as private land for that community. The rights are the same, so they would need to come back together quickly so that there is no land left without title. I think security would be secured by that. Individuals involving in titling from my ministry, I had agreed, and I also said we have a few we are processing in court. My vision is the vision of the ministry. The minister doesn't have a vision personally, but the ministry has a vision in terms of urban development. And in terms of urban development, we have the Urban Areas and Cities Act. And that is specifically addressing the problem of rapid growth of population vis-a-vis the facilities available in our small towns. And that's why the KUSIP, that is Kenya Informal Settlement Program and Kenya Support Program for the urban areas has been developed, which of course is basically focusing on the facilities we have in all the towns, small and big, so that the planning becomes a condition, proper planning, PDP preparations, and all those physical planning for the land use and for the development use are part of the conditions for accessing the funding under those programs. So in my view, if you ask me what is the vision, those programs are for between, they are 5 years program, but looking forward, we need very elaborate cooperation between the county governments because, you know, they are the ones in charge of the planning at the county level, including survey work, so that then it is possible to have properly planned towns now before they become fully congested. My ministry, with the leadership of the Directorate of Physical Planning, former ministry, I beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker, has sufficient capacity to be able, and of course we can always increase capacity as a government, to be able to guide the county governments, and they always draw back for purposes of planning, and they seek support from us. And of course, we have the Physical Planning Act that requires also to be maybe reviewed to capture some of the issues that you are raising. So my vision is to see well-planned towns that have all necessary facilities of a big town, but even better planned than our big towns like Nairobi. You cannot say that it is properly planned, but we can now have better planned towns. As they grow bigger, then they have the street lighting, water, sanitation, and every other, and of course including titling.
Thank you, Alice. Yeah. Alice, let me ask you one or two questions. Under Schedule 4 of the Constitution, the distribution of functions between the national government and county governments, you have the responsibility for housing policy and the general principles of land planning and the coordination of planning by the counties. For the period you have been minister in this docket, have you ever had a meeting with county governments to discuss the issue and coordination of planning by those counties? I ask this because if you look around the country, we have completely misstepped, so to speak, in our planning and land use activities. Anybody with the land touching on any road just wakes up and builds a shop. In the old days, if you look at all the urban areas and markets, they were designated, meaning it is possible to easily provide security and amenities such as water and everything else. What have you done, and if you are confirmed, what do you plan to do to effect this constitutional responsibility?
Honorable Chair, it is not the easiest to actually work with county governments, you know, and for government, national government has been having its own challenges in terms of intergovernmental relationships. On my part, I haven't had a meeting with the county governments as a whole, but we have worked with different county governments or governors in terms of their planning. And they have brought their planning documentation to the ministry, and for sometimes for even for support in terms of that planning, and ensuring that it meets the thresholds that are required. I think going forward, I would say that it is necessary that I meet the county government in terms of the institution itself, the COG, so that we can agree. But they also think that the national government is encroaching a lot on their